We live in a digital era where technology is transforming the way we live and work. As technology powers the fourth industrial revolution, it is also one of the reasons, digital transformation is one of the reasons why we see so many incredible changes around us. But digital transformation is also one of the reasons why businesses change. In fact, businesses are at the vanguard of change because they need to service their customers better, and digital transformation is playing a key part in transforming their workforces to become more productive. This is a very interesting journey with a lot of waypoints. To understand this journey, we have a think tank of technology leaders joining us. Vijay Sethi, CIO of Hero Motocorp, and of course we have with us Rupinder, Goel, who is the global CIO of Tata Communications, Mr. Manish Choksi, who is the Chief of Corporate Strategy and CIO at Asian Paints, and Srihari Palangala, who is the Director of Marketing at Dell EMC India. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. How do businesses see digital impacting their workforces? This is the question open to all of you. We'll start with Mr. Sethi.
See, digital has been changing the world and the organizations a lot over the last few years. Anything and everything that's being done by the organization internally or any of our stakeholders, and the expectations from all these stakeholders also is that if the organization is not digitally enabled, perhaps we are losing somewhere. Even our own employees, whenever they look at any of these things, analyze, or while they are at home, while they are in office or on vacation, they would like to see everything on a digital platform. You do not expect that the organization will not provide you this. That's how the world is changing today.
All right. Paints, a very unique industry. What's your view on this, Mr. Choksi?
I think with digital today and Industry 4.0, it's all about engagement. Whether it is the company engaging with its sort of dealers, customers out there, or the company working with its employees to deliver a better consumer experience. So I think digital 4.0 is all about going beyond transactions, and moving to engagement, moving to collaboration. We are using digital technology across all the spheres. We are transforming the way we want to engage with our end consumers. So combining end products and services is, I think, in a very different manner being enabled using digital technology. You're able to see your home and how it would look with colors much before you even begin the painting process in that sense of the word. But the key to this is the person that brings it together. So whether it's digital visualization technology or our Salesforce automation that we use on devices that our sales force carries to the marketplace, the idea is to get them information that allows them to have better engagement with their sort of stakeholders, whether it's the dealers and contractors on one side or end consumers.
Communications is a technology-first industry. What's your view on this, Mr. Goel?
This digital transformation is a very different affair. So I'll always say 3 T's there: transformation, transparency, and trust. Digital transformation is not taking incremental or a band-aid approach. Whatever business models you have, you sell to your consumer, customers, or your employees, whatnot. It's really thinking about a very different model. So transforming from your traditional businesses, how we operate, what they want digitally, the new millennials or your customer experience or your customers in future by digitally, they want transparency. They want to know right away where we are. Digital brings the trust and transparency together, and that's a new disruptive model where new things, new way of working can be deployed. There's no boundaries. It's totally global. What do you do digitally? Anybody across the globe can do a few clicks and can achieve the same. So really every day you need to move and up the ladder and do better and better.
All right, so convenience, trust and disruptiveness are the key words here. Mr. Palangala, coming to you, how is Dell EMC playing a role here? How do you help companies with their workforce transformation strategies using digital tools?
All the panelists have talked about the transformation, the industrial revolution, the Internet of Everything, references to those. And I think fundamentally that's going to change the way people live, work, and also relate with each other. Okay. So that said, it's not just individuals, it's certainly businesses, like in all the examples we just heard over here, as we exist for a simple reason, right? To create technology that enable human progress, okay? And what we've learned over the past 30 years or so is that if you build great products, great technology, end users like yourself or businesses will go and do great things out there and change the world. It's definitely the conversation around devices, clients, desktops, notebooks, and what have you, but it also goes beyond that. Talk about virtual desktops, for instance, or you talk about digital workspaces. I'd also like to bring in a close adjoining area around security, right, and security transformation. Data exists on the client devices, but it just doesn't reside there. It goes from the edge to the core to the cloud, and during that journey and that transition, it's got to be kept secure. It's got to be managed. Okay, and technology from RSA and Secure Works, for instance, certainly help our customers in doing that. Dell EMC and overall Dell Technologies is a family of businesses coming together to help customers with this digital transformation journey.
What's your assessment, Mr. Sethi, of the embrace of this idea of workforce transformation using digital technologies? What are the trends that you see?
See, the first point I think is it's not industry specific. The entire workforce which is coming into any organization, irrespective of industry, today is digitally savvy. Okay? And the second part is even the current workforce, so-called legacy, even that is embracing digital in a big way in almost all the organizations. Which means, if I look from IT perspective in that, the way the IT systems or IT people were actually hand-holding people, the employees, few years back, maybe 3-4 years back, and the way we handle today is very different because the expectations are different. All the base is already done. Now people think of what next. Okay. And that's how the workforce is changing today.
Another subset of that, Mr. Goel, would be that to grow the business, you need to improve the customer experience, because obviously a happy customer means more business. Now, to get a happy customer, you also need a workforce which is more productive, and that's where the digital equation comes in. Now, do you think Indian companies focus enough on the customer experience?
Very good question. Let me define first of all the customer for a CIO. So to me, my internal employees, the workforce, are also critical customers, and so does the revenue paying customers. If you define a customer experience, a happy customer, first you have to make sure your own internal employees are happy. If they are happy, they will give a good experience to your customers. So when we talk digitally on the customer experience, there is an expectation, there is a need. Same for employees, same for customers. The regular 8 to 5 hours are gone. The regular brick store motors or the kiosks, they are gone. People are expecting beyond any boundaries, the services and outcome. To have a good customer experience, to enable your customer digitally enabled, you need to enable your employees with the right tools and right solutions. And only one way. It's not traditional old ways where you take requirements, think about it, sit in silos in your ivory towers and design solutions. I think it's about time. If you want to have a good customer experience, a good employee experience, which is also your customer, you need to go out of the way and co-create. You need to work with them, involve them. And if you look today in digitally, social is a big thing. And if you are doing that, those millennials or those users or those employees or those customers will be on the social media as well. They will become your marketer automatically, and it's a viral market. And the happiness or the positive customer experience or new way we work together will be really a miracle. So I think the major theme behind it is a co-creation.
That's a very powerful word, co-creation, and the paradigm of business itself is changing. Could you list some examples that, say, Tata Communications has done to enhance employee experience, as you mentioned?
It's a true global company. So we are spread over like 40 countries maybe, and different time zone, different projects and all. How to bring everybody together on the same page? We have put the collaborative technologies where people virtually can sign in and they can work together. You might be surprised, a person sitting in finance or HR might be working and may have skills or a hobby or a desire to add experience or the value to an IT project. So that's one of the things, very new way of working, the collaboration, giving the tools and bringing that power in, a voluntary nature.
All right. Now let's talk about the evolving workforce. Mr. Sethi, the rise of millennials is of course the headline here, and with it comes, say, remote workforce and always on mobile workforce. But that brings with it a certain set of challenges. So how do companies like yours deal with these kind of challenges?
See, one of the biggest challenge that this thing brings, millennials bring, is that they don't want any restrictions whatsoever. In a traditional organization, you will put restrictions that you can't use a USB, you can't go to this site, you can't use the social media, and there are tons of policies that an organization has, which means as CIO, one has to be at all times ready to receive this feedback and make changes in the policies, keeping one thing in mind: while you make many of these policies as per the needs of millennials, the organizational information and the security requirements are paramount. So one has to strike a fine balance between the two, that while you give convenience, while you give a good user experience, while you also give them that flexibility to work, the organizational security of information is paramount.
Millennials are expected to make 50% of the workforce by 2020, 75% by 2025. So they're here to stay, and their demands keep changing. So how do you address that facet, Mr. Choksi?
So you need to look at what shall you say, requirements that come from people, that is your workforce. What are the needs and wants? Where do they consume information? Where do they, what kind of information they want? And you are rapidly changing what would be considered back-end systems to be able to deliver that in a particular context, in a particular manner, on almost any device at almost any time. So I think you're changing the delivery mechanisms that came from IT. The number of channels that you have got by which you can access information is exploding. So you do everything to secure your backend, and then you say, let's open up so that you can get anytime, anywhere access virtually from any devices. Security layers or how you manage information changes from light touch to heavy touch depending on the power the device has got. One of the things that I think digital today brings is nothing is constant. It's ever changing, so you need to keep your ears to ground, understand the needs that come in, and then sort of move proactively. So I think we partner with a lot of vendors, a lot of service providers, so that we can leverage their technology and this vision as we go forward.
Mr. Palangla, how is Dell EMC helping organizations deal with the challenges which come with an evolving workforce?
Over the past decade or so, right, workspaces have shrunk by about 60%. Okay, work is no longer a place that you go to. It is an activity that you do, and you could do that pretty much from anywhere, right? I mean, 2/3 of the global workforce today are working from home, working from different locations, and really leveraging the power of that. There is a need for modern devices out there today, right? Clearly devices which will suit basis what you are meant to do or how you are doing it against the backdrop of what we saw. So really, the latest and the greatest design for the kind of work that you're doing. The next step in some sense is empowering them with those devices, right? When you get those devices, do you have the access to the data that you need, the information that you need, and things around it, right? And the manageability and security around those devices, right? And then finally, really the innovation that you can do to it, right? I mean, for example, cloud-based apps that you may need access to, and the data that you needed, right? Sort of, that's the way I would sort of look at it from an evolving workforce and what we can do from a workforce transformation perspective.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, let's take a short break, but lots more views on the topic coming up on the other side. Let's focus on the elephant in the room, which is the security issue. You've got employees with multiple devices, multiple platforms, sophistication in terms of attacks that we are seeing when you look at malware attacks. Mr. Sethi, how do you address that question, the security question?
Basics of security remain the same, which is you need to work on technology, you need to work on processes, and you need to work on people. While technology has advanced, and there's a huge amount of technology that you can put in to ensure that the entire thing doesn't get hacked, processes you need to set up so that people actually follow whatever. So if you have policies, you need to do that. But the most important thing in this entire thing is the people piece. Because whatever process you put in, whatever best technology you put in, if your people are not aware, if I'm carrying my mobile phone which has all the information, and if I'm not careful about my mobile phone, or if I have not encrypted the entire thing, whatever other technology or processes I might put is useless. So the major thing over here is awareness. The huge focus that one needs to give on awareness, creating awareness, and as to why information security is important. It's only when the thing comes from within that I need to ensure security. Only then it happens. Forget any carrot that you're showing or any stick that you're showing. So your aim is to ensure that it has to come from within each one of them, that this thing is important. Information security is as important as my convenience. Once that comes in, just everything automatically falls in place.
All right. What about the communications industry perspective on that? You are technology first, so there is more pressure on you on the security aspect. What do you have to say about this, Mr. Goel?
Security is a must. In this digital world, the belief for telecom companies is to design proactively how to make sure the peripheries are protected. So you are doing proactively, protecting your data. So as we all talk about clouds, the cloud is an open access. But when you are launching your cloud in a public or private environment, you need to segregate the data. You need to define the processes, what could be accessible to all and what cannot be. And telecom companies, securing your data and the processes and enterprises of our own, we hold a very big bet on. So we are connecting enterprises to the globe or to the internet and all the branches or all the offices together. So it's the critical responsibility to make sure that your data is secure. And we need to play that role. At the same time, when it comes to consuming the data by your organizations, it's very critical that people adoption and they know pros and cons and should not be a broad brush. So that has to be as a process-oriented approach with more gamification and bringing them on your side. So awareness, that's a key.
The future of work. Now you've got big data, you've got wearable technologies, you've got collaboration platforms. What does the future of work look like, Mr. Sethi?
So I think it's, while variables and all things are there, the reality is very soon all offices will also have robotics. There will be robots who will be actually working along with people, not in manufacturing. Manufacturing, they have been there for years. But even in the corporate offices, even in your receptions, there will be robots. So which basically means is that digital is here to stay. It's not just the millennials, but there's enough technology also which is coming, which is actually playing on the minds and the way of working of the organization, not just for the new people, but everybody. And that's where, as CIOs, we need to ensure that all these have to coexist. The people who have experience, they have to exist. The new guys have to exist. The new technologies have to exist. And some of these future technologies are like robots, which will do exactly the same work which our own employees are doing. They have to exist in the same environment. But keeping all this in mind, you need to ensure that all your systems, everything are still secure. That's what you need to do.
All right, so robotics is a big play. Mr. Choksi, anything to add there?
So I think robotics is one, obviously at the automation level, but there'll also be artificial intelligence or cognitive out there, which means not only do you have automation, but you have intelligent automation, which means people are, or computers and robots will be able to understand and understand sentiment, understand context and react, which was only in the past possible with large amount of back-end technology. Today, all of that is becoming far more industry and consumer friendly. So you will see a lot more interplay of to begin with, humans aided with intelligence from automation and bots. Those are words that are being used. Robots has now been shortened to bots. It could be in the machine world or it could be in the computer screen world.
All right. Let's wrap up the discussion with summary statements from each of the panelists on the question of what would they say to IT leaders on this topic of workforce transformation using digital tools. Mr. Choksi, we'll start with you. What's your message to IT leaders of India?
So I think the first message is, this is a brave new world. You need to go out there and try new things. Okay, but you need to be intelligent at that, and you need to understand what your businesses can absorb in terms of change, and need to calibrate yourself to utilize these technologies out there. Don't be afraid to experiment. And when you get those successes, you must be able to scale them rapidly.
All right. Mr. Goel?
So, to me, digital brings a new persona. So, you need to define persona. What customer, what role you want to play and what they are playing, and take these new digital technologies all together and tie it together. And where machine to machine will be a major game. That's where IoT or robots and all. And tied up with the analytics. You don't want the whole petabytes of data flowing around you and you don't know what to pick and what to do. So it will be needle in the haystack. Having that smart analytics tied to the social to build a persona and really utilize your way of life you live, way of work you do, and your social and rest into a persona and develop a digital story for you.
Making sense of the data
Making
to
sense.
further your business. Great point. Mr. Sethi, your summary.
I think one change that CIOs and IT team needs to do in the way of working is to realize that with this digital, there are enough opportunities for them to demonstrate value to the business. And not just to business, but entire stakeholders. The second piece is, while you are designing, developing, or implementing any of these softwares or systems, you need to ensure that the complexity is at the back end and not at the front end. The third and the last piece, I think, there's to a fundamental change in the way one thinks, which is that you cannot build or buy everything on your own. You need to really work as a collaborative partner, even with startups, even with large organizations, small organizations, one-man organizations, all. And that's where our ecosystem has to evolve even for the providers.
All right. Mr. Palangla, your summary statement. What is Dell EMC's message to India's IT leaders when it comes to workforce transformation?
Digital transformation is here to stay. If you haven't got onto the bandwagon, embrace it now. As of yesterday, in fact, otherwise the clock is ticking. The digital transformation is in three adjoining or adjacent areas, right? So it's clearly around IT transformation, right? It's the ability for IT from a data center perspective to modernize, automate, and transform, right? So that's one key pillar. There's certainly workforce transformation, and the third piece is around security transformation. So these are the elements of what you need to address as you think about your digital transformation journey. And IT is really central to all of this as a central nervous system, bringing and stitching all of this together.
On that note, we'll conclude this discussion. Gentlemen, thank you so much for this wonderful confluence of ideas on workforce transformation using digital technology. Thank you so much.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.